Sides of this particular webinar. Thank you so much. Making teaching learning effective. Align with Rabindranath Tagore's quote, everything comes to us, belongs to us, if we create capacity to receive it. I take this privilege to welcome our next speaker, Mr. Balaji Reddy, President Deming Forum India. We are honored to have you, sir. I request to start this session, please. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, can you all see and hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is it all
Yes,
audible?
sir.
Okay, so
Yes, sir. Audible.
before I get into what I have to say, I think I'll begin with this. It's from the bottom of my heart. एकदन्ताय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्ति प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. Thank you, everyone. We are in the midst of a world crisis, but I think this is the only way we can attain some kind of peace, shanti, as the shloka says. Of course, what I'm here to talk about, okay, the co-teaching learning, that's a topic assigned, but just look at how the world has changed in these last 2-3 months. I think we would have never imagined that we would be facing this kind of a crisis where we have to attend a seminar like this. But let's look at the positive side, that at least we are able to attend a seminar like this. All right, this would have never been possible otherwise. We would have had to take out some special time and take out our cars and come to some place. But here we are in the comfort of our homes and still connected. So I think that's wonderful to connect with all of you. Now, before I get into all of this, the post-pandemic, the so-called Teaching 4.0, I believe that our educational system has very, very strong roots. I still believe in the old Gurukul method, and I think that's what we will have to resort to, because this crisis has made people very, very insecure in many ways. They're not very sure about what's happening or what's going to happen in the future, and especially the students. And so in this, I think the teachers are going to play a huge role in trying to mold them and think in the right manner. So along with being subject matter experts, we need to, I think, widen our horizons and take on the role of a guru. So although ironically this is titled as Teaching 4.0 for Industry 4.0, I think let me go back. I'll call it Back to the Future. Go back to the original guru, the role of the guru now that we'll have to play, not just a teacher who teaches a particular subject. Yes, that has to be there, definitely. But like I said, we have to widen this whole thing. Now, very often, people they want to find out the meaning of the word guru. And if you look up the English dictionary, right, the meaning of the word guru says teacher, one who knows everything. Now, I think that really does not capture what the word really means. This has obviously come from our language. And how can the English, the Western word, even attempt to translate that word? Because it's not a word, it's a metaphor. And to explain that metaphor, you have to actually have a different mindset and tell, a whole story to explain that. I'd like to just make that clear to everyone on this particular webinar. What is the guru? Now, the whole thing, this explanation only we in our part of the world can understand. I don't think the Western world will ever understand what I'm about to say right now, because they don't have that mindset. Apparently, when God created everyone, okay, Manav, Danav, Dev, and Asura. Now, can you translate this into English? You say, okay, mankind, animals, the angels, and the demons. Okay, fine, but that really does not bring out what these words mean. But when God created all of them, Manav, Danav, Devas, and Asuras, He gave everybody the same power, and He said, same powers, and said, go enjoy yourself, live life, be happy, be prosperous. But what happened after that was quite strange. The Danav, the animal sect, of course, they were ignorant about these powers, so they didn't know what to do. The Devas were very, very focused, and they knew the real extent of these powers, so they knew when to use them and when not to use them. The Asuras, of course, tried to misuse, but the Devas controlled them in some way. But the Manav, the human, was the worst. He absolutely abused these powers. And so God was a little, perturbed. What exactly should we do about this? So he said the Devas seem to be the only people who have understood all of this. So let me call them for a meeting. So he called them and he said, look, what has happened? All right. I mean, you guys have really worked on this and you all have focused so well. The Asuras, okay, fine, we can show them the way. The Dano, poor fellows, they're ignorant. But look at this man, this Mana, what he's gone and done. So what should we do? So the Deva said, simple solution, just take away all his powers. So God said, no. Once I give something, I never take it away. So he said, then what do we do? He said, let's do one thing. Let us hide these powers somewhere. So where do we hide these powers? So the Deva said, let us hide them at the bottom of the ocean. So God said, no. This Manav is very inquisitive. He'll go to the bottom of the ocean and he'll find it there. So I said, okay, then what do we do next? He said, let's hide it way on top of a mountain. I said, no. This Manav is very hardworking. He will climb there and he will find the powers there. So then what do we do? It's the best solution. Let us hide these powers inside the Manav only. And his whole life, he will keep on searching for these powers and he will never find them. But the person who helps him discover those powers is the Guru. The Guru does not teach a subject. The Guru does not teach any topic. The Guru shows you the way. And I think in this post-COVID, what is going to happen is that people are going to be looking for someone to mentor them, to guide them, and show them the way. I think we need to take on that role now. They know, today's children, they know, they get the information. You just have to speak about something. I've taken online sessions and I have taken sessions in what we call as in person. Now, in person, when they're not allowed mobile phones or computers or something in the class or laptops, when I ask certain questions, they can't answer because they rely so much on the internet to get the information, which is good. I mean, information being available at your fingertips is good. But then when they don't have it, then I always tell them that use the internet for these things to get the information. Then as I leave the class, they say, thank you, sir, you showed us what to do. Yeah, but that's exactly what it is. Don't misuse or abuse the internet. We didn't have this. I mean, I remember when I was doing my master's, right, and the professor used to come into class and say, these are the books you should read. I mean, for those who come from Pune city, we know this. What bookshops were there in Pune city 30 years ago? There was nothing. I mean, we used to struggle to get even engineering books. We had only one shop, I remember, okay, which was Technical Book Services in Camp somewhere. And the whole Pune Engineering College and everyone used to land up there. And he knew the books. In fact, he used to recommend books sometimes. Sometimes we used to say he's a pseudo professor, right? But today, if we tell them, as you know, if I speak just now and I say that this book, very quickly they will go on the internet and they will download a PDF. I mean, that's so nice. It's nice to know that, but they should do that. And we should be telling them to do that or making them go in that direction. So I think what's going to happen now, okay, is when we walk into class, we should teach them to use these so-called privileges that they have in the right manner. They need role models, right? And in engineering, I mean, if you're going to ask any of the students who are here later on, if you take a feedback or something like this as to what do you want to be or who's your role model, they will invariably take the name of, a Virat Kohli or Shah Rukh Khan. I mean, why can't we give them some role model in engineering? Someone whom they can look up to. Not a flashy sort of an entrepreneur. Yeah, of course, entrepreneurship is important. But what about the rest of the people? As I keep saying, okay, when people have this wrong notion, every time you ask, you go to some seminar on education and they talk about education. What is the use of education? Look at Steve Jobs, look at Bill Gates. Well, these are exceptional people. You come across these people once in your lifetime. You come across a Dhirubhai Ambani once in your lifetime. You come across a Steve Jobs once in your lifetime, Bill Gates, and they did not complete. Of course, by the way, Bill Gates completed his education, but let me come to that later. They did not complete the education because they had a purpose. Dhirubhai Ambani, if you know, the movie Guru was made on his life, and he had one thing. In the last 5 minutes of the film, he tells you his purpose, and he says, "मुझे क्या करना था? मुझे तो केला सिल्क बनाना था. आपने मुझे बनाया. You made me this. I just wanted to make Kailas. He had a purpose. And since he had a purpose, he was in a hurry. He could not, he did not want to get educated. But my question is, how many uneducated people did he hire to run his companies? You can't give me a list. Why did he hire educated people? Obviously, he knew the power of education. When you don't have something, you value it. How many uneducated people or unqualified people did Bill Gates hire in Microsoft? He always hired educated people, but of course, yeah, he had some other nut that he used to use during his interviews, and also I'll cover that a little later. What about Steve Jobs? How many uneducated people did he hire? How many college dropouts did he hire? He didn't. He wanted educated people. And he says, I hired them because I want them to tell me what to do. I don't want to tell them what to do. Right? So today we have to make the children more enterprising, not in terms of being entrepreneurs or business people. You need that, yes, but not everyone is born with that. Not everyone acquires that. There are some people who can play the role of doing what they're told and they do it well. Even that is good. So I think as the new order is what actually is the old order. We're going to become like gurus, like what it was 10,000 years ago. I remember in one such seminar, by the way, I've been associated with D.Y. Patil, I don't know, Dr. Vinay Kulkarni, I can't stop thanking him. But right from 2003, 2004, and I can safely say that Dr. Vinay Kulkarni, more than an acquaintance, is now a friend. He's almost like a friend to me. But at that time, when he called me to DY Patil, I mean, I've come from those days when there was nothing on the campus. I remember, I don't know, only the principal's office building was there. That too, up to the the production department. The building was there. Afterwards, the construction came up, and that auditorium, what you call, that was there. And I gave my lectures over there. And now, when I come to the campus, I feel so nice. And I've been over the years, I've seen how it's grown. All right, and I remember telling him this, right, that as we keep growing like this, the children also expect something else. All right, and we need to focus on, like I said, the recognizing the strength of each and every child. I know it's difficult to do, but there are ways and means are of doing it, right? And we need to focus towards that. Subject teaching a subject is just a ways and means of getting to them. वो तो सिर्फ बहाना है. It's just a medium. We should come forth and see their strength, tell them what they're good at. It takes a little time. Okay, so during whatever, because there's some people who are very good at memorizing, we can use that. Bill Gates, he's got a fantastic memory. I mean, he's written the complete code of Microsoft Excel, and it seems that if even now he checks the code, he can make out what has changed. So we need that. You have some people who are very good at memorizing. Use that somewhere. You have some people who are very good at articulating things. Use that somewhere, right? And then we need the creativity, of course, and then the entrepreneurship, etc. Some people, like I said, they are born with these things, and we need to just show the guru. As I said here, okay, we are going back to what we were 10,000 years ago, and we have to take on that role again. The world order is not changing, it's going back, and we are rediscovering all of these things again. Our culture, our values, our structure that we have, whether it's family, whether it's the way we respect, our definition of respect is so different. Of course, my definition of respect is different. I believe respect is what you show when a person's back is turned on you, and respect is what you speak about that person when that person is not there. And I think in that we are told to show our respect in whatever way we can. Simple things like even now, I think when we meet someone older than us, I mean, if you saw recently what Narayan Murthy Saab did when he was given some or he was felicitated or being felicitated by Ratan Tata, he fell at his feet. This is us. This is us. That's the respect we have. That's the respect we've grown up with. And we should not lose that, but we should go back, like I said, to our old way of the teaching learning, which was the Gurukul. Okay, when I was just talking that when I've been coming to DY Patil, we had one particular seminar like this for engineering education 5 years into the future. I think Dr. Malti was there at that time, and she heard me speak. And I said this, okay, that because somebody said that our old method of education was wrong. And I said, no, it was not wrong. When the student, or when the shishya, why am I saying student? When the shishya, right, went to stay with the guru, and then he was asked to recite the shlokas every day, and he said that we used to learn like parrots. Yeah, sure. But then when you talk about the shlokas being recited every day, what was the reason that they made them recite the shlokas till they knew it by heart? Because the transfer from one generation to the other should be perfect. But one day, when the student or the shishya was reciting the shlokas, the guru says, "Stop. Tell me what it means." And then the shishya used to think and try to give an interpretation of what it meant. The guru never gave the interpretation. Never. Because the guru knows that with every generation, the interpretation would change. And he wanted that student to go in the right direction. If the interpretation went in the wrong direction, he would correct him. No, think again. That is a guru. So we don't want to impose our thoughts on them. We want to show them the way so that they develop their own thoughts. That should be the level of education, and that is education. A guru can never, we in our culture, we always say that we never get better than the guru. And this only we understand, the Oriental countries, right from Japan to the Middle East, because we are different from the Western world. Because I've read so many papers and books. When we began all of this, Dr. Vinay Kulkarni said that I'm well versed with the works of Deming and Juran, and Dr. Deming and Dr. Juran are gurus in Japan. And I remember reading some article somewhere where somebody said that that secretly the Japanese started believing that they knew more than Deming, or that progressed beyond Deming. This is so much of misunderstanding in such a few words, because we in our part of the world never ever say we are better than the guru. You tell me one thing, till the end of his career, Sachin Tendulkar always went to Ramakant Atsrekar when he had a problem. Ramakant Atsrekar didn't play a single test match in his whole life. Sachin Tendulkar played more test matches than anybody in the world, and yet he went to his guru. That is what we are. We know we can never get better than the guru. We know we can never get that, because unless we show someone the way, we don't become the guru. We can become a guru only if a guru tells me I'm a guru. I can't declare myself as guru. So when does a person know? When the guru comes and tells you you have become a guru, then you can say yes. You can't say I am from today guru. It makes no sense. And getting some certificate from someone makes absolutely no sense. Who are these bodies? Are they showing some people the way? So I think I would go ahead and say here, okay, that we need to take advantage of our culture, of what we are, because in this post-COVID era, that is what is going to hold us together and keep us different from the rest of the world, including the Western world, because they have no clue as to what this relationship means. For them, a teacher is just someone who comes and reads out some points in class, okay, or gives them some notes or something. Is that what we are supposed to do? We are just showing them the direction. Let us now pledge, okay, that when we go into class as teachers, whether it's mechanical engineering, all of us are here engineers, yes, let us give them some role models so that they can look up to them and say, I want to be like that. And the role models should be some heroes. We need to create some heroes. And the heroes would be, let's talk about Vishweshwaraya. Let's talk about the Dr. Salem, Subramaniam Salem. Nobody even knows who he is. This gentleman, he was working in L&T when they made the LPG cylinder, when they got that contract from Government of India. These are people whom you need to look up to, right? Who have created something new, who have led people in the right direction. Dr. Jayan Narayikar. These are names, these are heroes, and we need to find these, because in engineering, next time we walk into a class and we say, who's your hero? They should be talking these names. Virat Kohli and Sachin Tendulkar and all, and maybe Shah Rukh Khan or something like this is fine. They inspire in a different way. But I think we need heroes. We need to mold our students in this direction. From now on, let us see and hope that this post-COVID era where India will emerge. I remember even at the same D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, there was someone who made a funny statement. I think who it was, one of the speakers who had come, and he said that one day, that the Pimpri Chinchwad should be known as the Detroit of India. And I remember I just replied and I said, sir, I promise you one day that we'll become so good that Detroit will be known as Pimpri Chinchwad of America. So this is what we should look at. We have everything. We have to unlock all of these things which have been locked away for centuries, thousands of years. Let us bring it to the fore. This is the best time. We have got a time to reset and start all over again. Let us show the world. India has shown the world before. India should show the world now also the way to do things. Right? I don't know. I think, I don't know whether I've run out of time, but yeah, somebody just said something. So I'd like to just conclude by saying that we need to go back to our roots. Let us read our scriptures again. Let us educate ourselves differently. If we need people to interpret and understand what the true meaning, because the problem in our scriptures is it's all written in metaphorical style, and people have not. I mean, we look at the story part, we don't look at the meaning part. For example, I remember this in NASA. This is what had happened in the 1960s when they wanted to put the satellites into the orbit, and we all know that they had to put it there into the so that it circumnavigates the whole the Earth in the orbit. But putting it there was a problem, and that is where one of the Indian scientists told the story of Trishanku, where we all have read that story where the sage was there and his shishya, a king. Okay, and then the sage was supposed to have done the interior decoration for Lord Indra. Like I said, it's hard to explain to a Westerner. It's hard to translate into English what has been written in our scriptures. But I'm just making a stupid attempt here. And he said that because Lord Indra asked him to do the interior, and he said, "No, I will not do it." And he was very angry with him. Lord Indra was angry with this sage, and so when his shishya died and his soul was going to heaven, Lord Indra told Chitragupta, just shut the doors of heaven on him. And so his soul started going towards earth. And then the sage saw that and he suspended him in midair and created an entire solar system around him and said, "This is my heaven," he told Lord Indra. And so this man remained there, neither here nor there, Trishanku. So, I mean, this is the story. But what's the real meaning? Now, Trishanku is a metaphor for a satellite, neither here nor there, somewhere in the middle. Now let's dissect this word Trishanku. Shankha, we know, is a conch shell and it's shaped like an arrow. And Tri is three. And that is how they designed the 3-stage rocket to put the satellite into orbit. Now, who is going to explain these things to a Westerner? They start laughing at our scriptures and say, "What is?" Like somebody said, "Was Lord Krishna blue in color?" Arey, kaise samjhaun aapko? It is a metaphor. Blue, look at the Vibgyor. It is the middle color of the entire spectrum. And the sky is blue. It is a metaphor that this man was endless. It is one of the avatars, for that matter, the avatar also. I mean, it is an incarnation. You can't, it's not like what the stupid English movie said, Avatar. First of all, they distorted that word also very badly. And that movie made no sense because it didn't bring out what the real meaning of avatar is. Look at how they've distorted our works. Let's teach them a few things. I think let's not rely on what they are saying. Let's come up with our own, and we have enough. So though this is Industry 4.0 and Teaching 4.0, actually, it's back to the future. We're going back to our roots. We have this chance. Let's take it from there, study in whatever way we can, and come back and show the world what really India is. This is our scriptures, 10,000 years old, written. I mean, not even written by, it's memorized, kept in someone's brain, and it kept on getting nurtured. W. Edwards Deming had said this once. And that's the sad thing that happened, because people never in the West never understood. Because when he was rediscovered in his own country, for those who know his story, he was ignored in his own country. But then when he started teaching in America again, they said, "Oh, this all sounds very nice, but teach us what you taught in Japan." He said, "I am teaching you what I taught in Japan." They said, "No, it can't be. You're not giving us some step 1, step 2, step 3. He said, "There is no step 1, step 2, step 3. I am just showing you the way," because that's exactly what he did in Japan. It's the Japanese who took his learning and turned it into something powerful. And that is why they never said they got better than him. It's the Western people who went there and interviewed and saw that they've progressed beyond Deming and Durand. See, this is absolute nonsense. It can never happen. And so he made the mistake at that time of writing down something for the Americans to do. And we all know that when you write something down, this is the irony, that when you write something down, it ceases to exist, because people start looking at it as a dogma and not that it can be interpreted in some way. So I think this is the new order we have to create as faculty members. What can we take away from this? One, let's go back to our roots. Second, let's be role models in some way, show them the way. Let's create heroes, right? And heroes in our field, because there are many. Everything is an invention. I mean, people use gadgets, internet. Yeah, I keep saying, okay, how do you run the internet? How do you, how does a Benny laptop run? Just now I'm using an iPad. Somebody is there to make that damn iPad. You need a civil engineer to make a factory. You need a mechanical engineer to make those machines. And you need an electrical engineer to put the power in all of that so that all of this works. You cannot have any other gadget unless these conventional sciences, if they're ignored, that'll be the end of the world. We engineers rule the world. It is us. So what we need to get back to, like I said here, as in the teaching learning process, let's do that, and let's create this new generation. We are lucky that, in a sense, yeah, it's bad whatever has happened, but let's look at it in a positive sense, that it's giving us time to reflect upon these things and go back to our roots and create. I'd like to quote Dr. Vinay Kulkarni. I remember he said this to someone who had come from, was it Tata Motors? I can't remember, where he was talking a lot about practice and there is no theory. He said, "Sir, practice is the fruit, but theory is the root. Without the root, there is no fruit." So that's the way we're supposed to be. Let's go back to our roots and see to it that we grow as a nation, especially starting from our education, because that's where it all begins. Right, I think I'll stop here. Thank you very much for being patient. I don't know.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was excellent and indeed pleasure to hear your words, sir. Thank you so much. I think you well explained the problems brings opportunity, and it's an internal journey to find out Tare Zameen Par. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, can we move forward towards the questions?
Oh, there are questions. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Principal, sir, can we move towards the questions?
Yes, please proceed.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So the question from Vinay Kotawar, sir. How can we add the attributes of ancient Vedic education system in current educational context? What small things we can practice to do so as a teacher?
I think first and foremost, we need to familiarize ourselves with that. I don't think we're entirely familiar with it. Some attempts were made in India, I believe, between 99 to 2004, where in some, I'm not very sure about this, but yes, it did happen, where they went back to Vedic physics and Vedic mathematics. And it's not just the techniques that of course we can always learn, but it's the philosophy that's more important, that what exactly is all of this. And I think we need to educate ourselves in that. So let's before finding out to, resorting to tools or something, let's first try to familiarize ourselves with our own scriptures and the interpretation. That's more important. So I think we ourselves need gurus, maybe a person who has read the scriptures well, and let's ask what exactly did the person mean by this. And we need to imbibe what is necessary, and then we can create a special education system for our students.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you for the answer. We have one more. What shall we do to recover our economy post COVID 19?
Oh my
Can
God,
we show path?
I'm not an
The
economist, but
question.
yeah, but I think we are the cradle of knowledge. We are the cradle of growth. All education institutions. The best thing we can do is to orient our children. I've been saying that to think differently or think in a different direction, and give them clarity of thought because we are in a sense we are resetting everything. It's like a control alt delete button that is being done and restarting everything. So we can start from scratch, and I think we'll be able to do a good job. It may take time, so we need to be a little patient. The new order will shape itself. So I think we are at the crossroads. It's an exciting moment. It's fearful, yes, but it's also exciting that we are going to decide the future.
Trupti madam,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
just I wanted to bring it to notice to everyone that Balaji sir has given a control chart on COVID-19 after COVID-19 to Government of India. And his control chart was not only appreciated by Principal Secretary, but also in the cabinet meeting it was discussed. And he is making now the action plan for the entire India post-COVID situation.
I'm not making
And,
action plan, but definitely
Great.
giving them regular reports.
correct.
The post-COVID, that is the COVID-19 task force, which is there. Dr. Giridhar Gyani is one of the main people there. So I'll be sending in. Till now I've sent him 11 reports on that. And the only I don't know exactly what's happening there, but the only thing I know is if I don't send a report, he sends a message. Where is your report?
That is
So yeah, that's in fact the next report I'll be sending. I remember he sent me a message yesterday. Please give me a report by 12th of May because 13th of May I have a meeting with the COVID-19 task force with the Prime Minister. So let's see.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kulkarni, sir, for adding it to the question. The question was asked by Dr. Jain. Moving towards the next, we have a question from Shubham. He's asking what changes must be done in evaluating a student.
Okay, evaluation. I mean, first of all, there's no absolute measure of evaluation. I don't think that can ever happen. What we can do is, like how a fisherman just throws the net and then he sees what fish he can catch. So we need to come up with different ways of, say, reaching to the inside of different strengths of a students. When we began, also I said that some people have different strengths. Somebody memorizes well, somebody articulates well, somebody creates very well. So I think we need to look at spread our dragnet throughout, and then see and highlight and never this one is better than that one. If someone is saying that he memorizes, yeah, but that's his strength. You can't memorize like him. What can you do? You can articulate well. So you focus on your strength. And so I don't think that there can be any absolute measure of evaluation. Let's put it this way. Let's have like a qualitative thing instead of a quantitative one where you say that memory right on top, creativity right on top, somebody else is good at speaking or expressing, right? So we can have it separately, but let's not have one sort of common way of evaluating for all of them. I think that'll be very unfair. So it's difficult to do, but we'll have to start somewhere.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the last one, how can we bring out the qualities present within us? The question from Darshan Verma.
Now that is so difficult. We need, the funny thing is, I'll just quote someone here, that the day you discover your purpose, yeah, that's when your whole life changes. And that discovering the purpose, I think, sometimes mostly comes from the outside. It's someone else who comes and tells you, this is what is good for you, or this is what you're good at, and then you start focusing on that. Sometimes it could be a parent who does that. Sometimes it's a mentor. Sometimes it's someone at the place of work. Sometimes it's a teacher, maybe some relative. But I think the best way to do that in a different way. I mean, interact means whom you're comfortable with, and then then see how it all unfolds from there. Many times this happens, like I said, even after you start working. So don't expect things to happen at a very young age or something. Okay, if it happens earlier, very good. Those are fortunate people who find their purpose and the guru at the right time, right? As in Sanskrit, it is written, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So you should make yourself ready, and the teacher will appear.
Yes, sir. Really great experience to hear you, sir. I think all teachers and students both know Eklavya and Dronacharya story. So they also know that at some point of time, the Guru is going to take some Shishyavriti, and then he is ready with his both thumbs, left and right. That is the change what we need. Thank you so much, sir.
Correct.
Over to you,
Thank
Principal,
you,
sir.
thank you.
Over to you. I request Principal to present his views.
ब्रह्मानंदम परमसुखदम केवलम ज्ञानमूर्तिम द्वंद्वातीतम गगन सदृशम तत्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम एकम नित्यम विमलमचलम सर्वदी साक्षिभूतम भावातीतम त्रिगुणरहितम सद्गुरु तम नमामि.
Yeah.
Balaji sir, you are really Sadguru, and you have really given the such insights and wisdom of the human life. So wonderful, and you have specifically pointed out the role of the gurus. All the teachers should be considered, and they should also imbibe all the qualities of the guru. It's a wonderful and fantastic. You have also mentioned about the Dev, Danav and Manav. So these are exemplifying as far as the Rajatama Sattva. Tukaram Maharaj mentioned that Rajatama Sattva आहे ज्याच्या अंगी याचं गुण जगी वाया गेला. तम म्हणजे काय, नरकाची केवळ. So if you look at understanding the purpose of the life, making all the students, the future generations, aligning to the purpose of the life, real wisdom of the life, is the necessity of holistic development towards this education, teaching, learning process. I could understand from your great speech. So your speech was at very different level of abstraction of the thinking. So this was above education 4.0, industry 4.0. It is the education 10.0, I can consider.
Sir, it is 0.0, sir. It is Guru.
It has as a root and origin, because Yoga Vasishtha has brought this kind of the knowledge and wisdom and given to the Krishna to spell out about the Gita, and then that wisdom should be, go to in the form of Guru. Then wisdom has been given to Arjuna, and ask him to do whatever has been directed to you.
Correct.
So that ancient knowledge really encompasses the completeness of the person or the human when you have taken as a avatar of the gods.
Yes.
So perhaps you have given that dimension of thinking to all the teachers and students today. And it's a really fantabulous and fabulous. These were my comments. No question at all. Just salute to you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over to Trupti. Yeah.
Thank